ceremony, despite his busy schedule. I also wish to thank you all for attending, because without your presence this week, we would not have had the opportunity to deliberate on this important theme of strengthening coordination and collaboration towards effective cross-border prosecution of transnational organized crime. Indeed, the national prosecution authorities represented here have expressed the continent's continued response in fighting transnational organized crime. During this conference, Honorable Speaker, we've had an opportunity to share our experiences, learn best practices from other countries, all aimed at enhancing effective cross-border prosecution. I believe this will herald better cooperation, collaboration, and coordination in our engagements as we tackle the various forms of transnational organized crimes. Our speakers, panelists, and the delegates have given examples from their countries on how organized criminal groups are becoming sophisticated and how technology has facilitated these illicit crimes. Indeed, our environment, our youth, our development, our peace and stability as a continent have not been spared from these cross-border crimes. Accordingly, it is imperative that as prosecutors we develop mechanisms for prosecution of cross-border crimes. In addition, follow-the-money approach should be utilized more where proceeds of crime arising out of corruption flow out of the country. Such proceeds, when repatriated to a victim state, can ultimately be utilized for the original intended purposes. Indeed, I echo the sentiments of colleagues who express that Africa should do better in terms of repatriation of assets. But we must also find our own solutions to our own problems. As I spoke with a number of delegates, I noted we kept on talking about Francophone and Anglophone judicial and legal frameworks. However, as Africans, I think it's high time that we look for our own solutions to our own problems. And if that includes developing hybrid judicial systems that enrich our various countries, so be it. And I think these such forums, Your Excellency and Honorable Speaker, will allow us to be able to develop jurisprudential systems that will be geared towards the African problem and an African solution. Further, issues that arose from the stimulating panel discussions were of utmost importance and undoubtedly will require more intervention and interrogation. Indeed, meetings such as this present a platform to promote bilateral and multilateral agreements among countries for effective investigations and prosecutions of transnational organized crimes. Thus, I urge the APA members to continue exploring informal channels of cooperation, even as they enhance international cooperation in transnational organized crimes. In addition, the efficacy of central and competent authorities must be paramount. The criminal justice actors involved in cross-border law enforcement requests for mutual legal assistance and extradition must act with a sense of urgency, coordination, collaboration, and commitment. I think, again, we must be sincere and frank as Africans. A lot of times, we are unable to honor MLA requests amongst ourselves because either we do not have the network or we do not know each other, and most of the times we have to wait for other development partners from other continents to bring us together. I think this needs to change. And APA should be the premier association that brings us together and allows us as Africans to reach out and network and be able to honor requests from each countries within Africa. It should not be the case that we depend on others to bring us together. In future, those who are members and those who are coming in, kindly let us try and endeavor to promptly pay our dues, encourage individual members to join. And when I say individual members, let us encourage our own prosecutors to join APA and pay up. It's only $10. But can you imagine $10 of 54 countries in Africa, if I'm not wrong, 54 countries, how much funding that will bring to APA to allow us to be able to do our own trainings, to have our own meetings, to develop our own laws. I think it's high time we try our best to encourage that and reduce dependency, because dependency at the end of it will also overburden those who are supporting us, and we really appreciate those who are supporting us. But as Africa, we must also take a leap that needs some form of change, that needs us to stand on our own 2 feet also. So I encourage more members, but I also encourage you, please, to be more involved and to also pay the dues that we all have, including Kenya. Colleagues, I implore you to implement the Mombasa 2023 Declaration for the Africa we want. And I also implore you that we keep our contacts and engage each other, whether you're from the Anglophone or the Francophone. I think we are all Afrophone, isn't it? Do we agree on that? I once again express my gratitude to the delegates and experts for honoring our call to attend and participate in this conference. It is my belief that this conference has served to further strengthen our resolve to collaborate, cooperate, and coordinate for effective prosecution of cross-border crimes. Together, we have the possibility of achieving the Africa we want, a more peaceful, stable, and sustainable Africa.
The Director of Public Prosecution, I want to give you my commitment as the chairperson of our JLAC, that is Justice, Legal Affairs, and Human Rights in the Committee of the Senate, and also a member of the Speakers Panel as well as the House Business Committee, that my personal commitment will be, as a petitioner, if there is any agenda that would come in form of a legislative proposal, I would undertake that we support to the best of our ability to make sure that we give you a seamless fight against these transnational crimes. The presence of the Right Honorable Speaker here is equally a confirmation of the goodwill that we do have as the legislative arm of government to support our independent agencies in the fight against transnational crimes and related fights with which we would be expected to do as the Parliament. In our bicameral setup, the National Assembly and the Senate in the current dispensation have got a very good working relationship, and I know should there be any proposal, including what earlier on Saitoti made a comment as to the missing link in the legislation on virtual assets. It is one of those things that I would commit that should it come before us, we will fully support. And as I